so it's not as big as what we were doing at Bombardier. But in a nutshell, this is all I've done. And, if ever I go someplace else, it'll be in aviation. There's nothing better than this industry, full stop.
So talk to us a little bit more about the leasing world, right? And just for some of the more younger professionals out there, right? What is leasing? How does it work? Why do airlines want to lease aircraft?
So the best analogy, right? And since I'm a massive car buff, right? The best way to explain aircraft leasing is in terms of car leasing. Okay, it's more complex, of course, because you're looking at a piece of machinery that you can basically place anywhere in the world, right? But it's effectively the same. You're basically renting out an aircraft, right, for a certain period of time, and you're paying a monthly rent on the aircraft, almost like if you were paying a leasing fee on the car. The only difference is that with a car, you're fully responsible for your own maintenance, whereas with a lease, you're paying into a what they call a maintenance reserve fund, right? So you're basically putting a pool of money together for all future maintenance events. So you're basically paying for the utilization that you have on the aircraft. Okay. What most people don't know, and kind of hit me square in the face when I started in the leasing world, is that you know you'll fly, let's say, for example, we'll fly Air Canada here in Canada quite a bit, right? And they've got a whole mess of airplanes. And you look at these airplanes, they're branded, they got painted with Air Canada colors and everything. And you say to yourself, okay, it's an Air Canada aircraft, but who actually owns that aircraft? That's the question, right? And when you start digging in, right, very closely, start looking at fleet statistics and stuff, I haven't looked at this recently, but when I was looking into this type of information, we were nearing, 50% of the worldwide fleet was leased. Okay. There's some leasing companies out there that have, 1,000 airplanes in their book, like new orders and aircrafts that are out, flying all over the world. For an airline, right, leasing is a very interesting perspective, because when you start getting into the larger airplanes, you're talking about airplanes that are costing you hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not like small pocket change, right? So for for an airline, right, who typically is airlines don't make some airlines make a lot of money. Most of them are sort of like break even or at the brink of destruction on any given month, right? Cash flow and preservation of cash is probably the most important thing that these guys can do. So instead of spending $100 million or $150 million on a new airplane, right, to use for the next 20 years, how about, the concept of leasing something maybe for 250 or 300,000 a month, right? Plus another, 300,000 on maintenance reserves. And that's it. For the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever, that's basically all you're paying, unless there's an unscheduled event on the aircraft. So it's about cash preservation. It's about, asset risk, because you never know if the airplane that you chose is going to be the airplane that you're going to need in 3 or 4 years from now, when, the market around you changes and you have to start looking at different routes and different cities around, you know what I mean? So it's very, very interesting for airlines.